Parenting brings its unique challenges. Yola, Bastos, and I chat about what it's like to be a parent, especially being a single parent, some of the challenges we've faced, how we've overcome them, how we've found light at the end of the tunnel.
Welcome to Share.care, an all-inclusive community sharing experience, strength, and hope to create strong, healthy, and inspiring relationships. Share.care communities work toward every individual feeling safe, valued, and heard, free from the threat of danger, pain, or harm. Each episode, founder Damian Andrews explores the principles underpinning Share.care and invites expert special guests to share their knowledge so you can easily reap the benefits so many others experience. You hold the choice to create your future. Let it be with strong, healthy, and inspiring relationships.
Hello, Yola.
1 second, I'm here, Damian.
I can hear you coming. I can hear you. Hello.
Good morning. Oh, good morning for me, right?
Exactly. How are you today?
I'm very well. Wakey.
Bright and early. It's evening here, so different side of the world. Yeah, and we've got a bit of.
How are you?
Very well, very well. Getting all excited for Christmas. Having to adjust to not having lots of presents for a change.
What do you mean by that? Just not having a lot of presents.
Yeah, normally I'm a big Christmassy fan. I love lots of presents under the tree, but I noticed last year and probably the year before as well that I was probably buying more presents because I wanted them for my son, and pretty much all the presents I bought last year he didn't want. Or not that he didn't want, he didn't really use because it was me buying them. And so this year I asked him, what do you want? And he goes, a new set of AirPods because he lost his AirPods. And that was it. And I'm like, there's a little box under the tree, and that's all it's going to be. And I'm going, that's not good enough. But that's my issue that I have to adjust to.
That's funny. You can. How I'm gonna say this? You can buy other things, not for your son. But maybe for the charity, I don't know, and just fill up. And after Christmas Day, you just go to the place and give to people or to a care home or something.
I love that. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. That's my solution. Lots of presents under the tree, and then just give them away afterwards.
Yeah, give to people. I'm talking about charity, but you can have family or you can have friends. I just, you know what? I want to give you something.
No, I think that's wonderful because like from my family's perspective, there's not much anybody really wants. We're all pretty much got the things that we want. We don't need anything. But I love that of giving that to charity and to people that actually do need that. So that's I love that. That's awesome. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get lots of presents, put them under the tree, and then then give them away after that to people that need.
Another thing, I'm just thinking because the other day I was thinking, I'm saying, what I'm going to do now this Christmas to give away something to someone. Yeah. So I'm preparing hamper. Hamper?
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm thinking about a gentleman that I see every day at the supermarket door. He's selling there something, a magazine that I don't buy that magazine but sometimes I give him something like or buy either when I go inside, I said, do you want to eat? And he says yes. So I bring him food when I'm coming out. Yeah. But I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna prepare something for someone. And I don't really know his life, but it's just a way. Yeah, simple.
Yeah, I think that's really special to do that. I love doing that. Whenever I pass someone and whether they buy I've seen that a couple of times where they've got cigarettes and it's like, oh, should I? And it's like, well, how they choose to do it how what they choose to do with the money I give them is up to them. But I'm gonna
Right.
give them anyway, and yeah, I always yeah, I
It's
think it's just
interesting.
nice. Yeah.
Hmm. It's interesting you touched that point, because regarding money,
Mm,
money,
yeah.
I don't really like to give money.
Mm,
Rather to buy something,
yeah.
because there we go. People sometimes is starving, but they are starving as well in drugs, for example, cigarettes. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if I give the money, you're not gonna eat. So
Mm.
someone will give, like you will come, you give the money, and I give the food.
Well, it's more because I'm generally in a place where I'm walking past it. It'll be just someone that's random. It's not a normal place
Yeah,
that I'll
I
go
know what
to.
you mean.
And it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying about giving them something a bit more substantial. My mum used to do that a lot, where she would
Yeah.
actually take things and give them. She wouldn't give them money deliberately. But she would go back and give them something, some food
Right.
or something like that. But I think that's really important to just
Yes.
that little bit of.
How do you do with your son? You give money or you buy things? I know you said about Christmas, but in general.
Yeah, with my son, it's a little different because for Christmas I would buy him things. Generally, I would either give him. He would tell me what he wants, and for this Christmas again, he said he lost his AirPods. I can't. That was earlier this year, and I was like, I'm not buying you new ones because you've lost them. I didn't say it, but I think he knew that was not going to happen.
Yeah.
So he's been stuck with using the ones that are plug-in ones now, and he always gets it wrapped around him somehow when he gets up, and I just watch and giggle because he gets frustrated, and it's like, and I said to him, "What do you want for Christmas?" He said, "AirPods." And then later he said he wanted there was a couple of video games that he wants as well, which is online. Which I thought, that's online. I can't even wrap that up. Then I thought I'll put a certificate in a box or something like that. But normally it's a combination of I do give him money, but it goes into an investment fund. So he has there's an equity fund that I run, and so he has money in that, and so he doesn't really have. He earns money by doing
Money.
jobs, things like that, um, but he doesn't. Yeah, he sometimes it's rare he'll ask for money. So whenever he does something well, like if he gets really good marks at school, I go, "Oh, here, I've given you some extra money, and I'm going to throw it in your equity fund." And he's like, "Oh, really? Thank you. I appreciate that." Because he likes watching his money grow as well. I'm just trying to teach him some, as you know, financial, independence, security, for him. So yeah, it's a combination, but generally he doesn't want for much, which is really um,
Good.
interesting because that's opposite to me. I want everything.
Remember me, how old is he?
He's 14.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, but he doesn't, and I think I'm trying to work out what it is because he's not really into social media. So he's got his own phone, brand new iPhone, current model, but he doesn't use it that much. He interacts with his friends because they're not
In real life.
close to, yeah, in real life, but also too when he plays some video games with him, but via the video game, so they talk online, not through the phone. He doesn't use social media much, and I'm trying to work out what that is. Why, but a lot of his friends don't use it either. So I'm not sure they're not stuck in that always on their phone thing. So I'm not sure what that. Why? Maybe it's because his friends don't do it much either.
Yeah, they are in a circle that don't use that often,
No.
because it's very rare, I think, nowadays to find.
Yeah.
Because my daughter is the opposite. She's always on social media checking. I always say, you spend so much time checking other people's lives. Why you don't do something else? But
Yeah.
at the same time, she has something that the other day I was thinking with her friends. I said,
Mm.
I need to do this. Why I'm not doing this with my friends? Mostly if my friends are abroad, they're not
Yeah.
close to me, my
Yeah.
best friend. And they take a time during the week to make a
Mm.
video call. They are all together, and this is normal for them. And they
Yeah.
are in the same city, but they in different lives. So basically, I said, this is at the same time, it's a good way she use social media or anyway the phone, because this is nothing to do with social media, but is regarding you having an iPhone, and you can FaceTime, or if you have any current phone that allowed you to get into WhatsApp and so on, so it gives you the opportunity to be in contact often with your friends. And I'm like, wow. But yeah, she takes a lot of time. If when she's not working, she will be doing something on the phone. And when I realized it was either Snapchat or Instagram or TikTok, but because her circle does the same.
Yeah.
Then
They communicate to each other via the phone and share the Snapchats and things like that, or?
Yeah, they can be at the same place and all on each phone. This makes me crazy. It's something that makes me really crazy.
It is funny, isn't it? That like today, you know, I saw a joke about a couple where they were sitting on a couch together and texting each other, and it's like,
yeah. Damien, imagine I'm going out for dinner with you and we sat down in the restaurant and made them. I'm like, how can they do that? And it's crazy.
Yeah, but I saw that like a young couple were out having dinner. I was at a restaurant and watching them, and they weren't talking to each other. They were both on their phones. And I'm going, wow, that's not, you know, I'm thinking that's not very romantic. I'm thinking, it's like, oh,
what is going to be? It's scary. It's scary for me because we've been there and we enjoyed ourselves. We did play attention how the restaurant, the color. I think I was paying attention to the color of the restaurant, to the waitress, to the food. They don't pay attention. The only thing is about when the food arrives, they do a video and
what is it with taking photos of food? I don't get that.
They tag everything, the restaurant. What's the name? They even how I say I did this. What I'm about to say. It happened. I lived that experience. Like they don't even say, "Excuse me, what's your name?" It's like, "Oh, can you tell me the name of the restaurant?" To be able to tag the restaurant in the picture that they're gonna post.
They've walked in and seen the name.
It is like, what? Where are you living? Yes, it is quite scary for me. I don't know what is going to be my grandnieces. I have a couple of them, and when I'm thinking, my daughter now, she's going to be 25 tomorrow.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and thinking about my youngest, no, one of my granddaughters is 7. When she will be 20, what she will be doing, I don't know. Maybe it's not going to be a phone, it's going to be an image in front of her, and she will be talking and appearing online everywhere at the same time. It's quite anyway, yeah, it's quite scary.
Well, because I was wondering, because again, with the Christmas thing, I was wondering, you know, being, I mean, I think because you were a single parent from fairly early when your daughter was born. Benjamin, I think he was 7 when I became a single parent. And I do wonder when I think about that, was I overcompensating with all this stuff just to because I had there was a lot of Christmases and birthdays where there was a lot of stuff, and I mean I made him work for it. There was one where he wanted a this Hot Wheels set, and it was massive, like it was about 1.5 meters wide. There's this thing that elevators, and it held about 150 cars. It was ridiculous, and he wanted that. And I said, well, if you do this at school and you achieve that, then you can have it. And he actually achieved it, so I got that for him. But it was kind of, I'm still wondering, was I overcompensating because I was a single parent? I'm just wondering how that might have been different had I not been a single parent. but same token too, he seems to have turned out okay. Well, he's still 14. He's got a lot of time to muck up, but I think he had done all right so far. But I was just wondering that intricacy of whether we try to, because it's just us, whether we try to do that little bit extra because we feel something's missing or something's that I don't know. I'm not sure if you had that, but for me, I think I felt a little bit bad about him not having a mother father relationship with us. It was from that point where you know we
Mhm.
I became a single parent. Yeah,
I do believe that we were in different circumstances.
yeah,
First of all,
yes, yes,
when she was young, I try my best to, through all the year, to give
yeah,
things that I know that she needs.
yeah,
And Christmas, and I always, on my daughter, when she was young,
mm,
from her 5 years old, when we arrive in UK,
mm,
till 13, 14. 14, she start to have the specific friends,
yeah,
but I always had a lot of nephews and nieces.
yeah,
So I would spend and share a lot of things between them.
yeah,
Um, Not too many. I remember now. It's just I would give something very small, but give
mm,
something, because
yeah,
my aim is to make that person happy, no matter
yeah,
how big is the present or how
yeah,
expensive. And I never enjoy to be focusing on Christmas to give something,
mm,
or a lot of things to a person, to
yeah,
this, like to my daughter.
yeah,
So in my circumstances, I remember to buy a, bi- a bike, for example,
yeah,
but was a little bit, I think, was in Christmas, but
yeah,
she couldn't ride the bike.
yeah,
She would be scared and crying because she can't ride a bike. This was a little before Christmas, and we,
mm,
on that year, that specific year when I bought the bike, 1 month before Christmas,
yeah,
she couldn't ride. But then we flew to Brazil,
yeah,
and remember, like yesterday, we arrived there, and it was a bike in my family's garden. Um, Garden. It's no garden. It's the garage. It was a
mm,
small bike from my other niece, the same age like my daughter.
mm,
There, stop there. No wheels at the back of the bike because they are small. So can you believe we arrived? Was like, I think was midnight. On the
mm,
next day, I woke up. It was 7 o'clock a.m. in the morning. It's hot weather. I don't. Jamila was riding the bike.
yeah.
She just ride the bike like she was always been riding the bike. And I
Really?
thought, like, wow. I think was the atmosphere,
Yeah,
the weather, the family environment
yeah,
that brought the energy. And she just and I was so surprised. I said, so I bought the bike there in
yeah,
UK. It's cold, but you can ride the bike. And it's just, I don't know if it was because it's just me and her. I don't know,
yeah,
but it was magical because she started to ride the bike when we went to Brazil.
yeah,
Yes, we was, and in Brazil, I spent the Christmas and I learned something extra um, about Christmas,
yeah,
um, because my family is considered in Brazil.
mm,
They're not medium. They're poor. They
yeah,
live in a poor,
mm,
how I say, neighborhood. If I say, I don't think, in my opinion, they're not poor,
yeah,
but they classified as a poor. But
mm,
I'm telling you, it was the more rich Christmas that I had in my life.
yeah,
Uh, was lots of family. One of the uncles, he had a big house, so we went there, and everyone brought a present. The
mm,
Secret Santa
yeah,
nowadays, because till I get into to Portugal, I thought like we need to buy presents for every children, for everyone, and spend a lot of money. That's why I had the barriers, and I don't like this thing.
yeah,
So comes to Christmas, and I need to spend loads of money. Sorry. And in Brazil, they show me love, not through presents, but through kindness, love, attention, care. Was nothing to do with gifts. No one was worried about the
Yeah.
gift, but was worried about the communion, the union, the all together, the hugs, the smiles, dancing, drinking. Was wonderful. Was wonderful experience.
That's what it's
Because
really about.
I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to the Uncle João house, and it's so many people. How I'm gonna do this? Where is? I say, Yola, don't. I call her mom,
Yeah.
my mom from Brazil, and she
Yeah.
said, Yola, you don't need to worry. This is not about our Christmas. Is not about gifts, because I was worried. I'm coming from here where everyone needs to buy something,
Yeah.
and that was the most powerful Christmas that I had.
Well, that's what
And then,
it is about. That's the real giving, is that connection.
mhm,
Because
yeah,
I gave up with, my parents, for example, because I was always trying to get them something, a gift or something, and they just didn't want anything, and it was like, I don't want anything. Um, and so it's like, just have some time together, and so we would do that. We would get together and just chat and talk and have some
eat.
food together. Yeah, exactly. And it was because also too, I don't see my parents that often. Not, I mean, we get along. We have. It's kind of interesting, our relationship, because we don't talk very often, but we do. Have a really. It's not like we need to. So
Mhm.
it's like my both with my mum and my dad. My mum and dad are separate, um, but we can not talk. I can not talk to my dad, and we probably have. There's times where it's gone like a month, 2 months. But it's probably been times where it's been 2 months haven't talked. Might have been some occasional text messages in there, but then when we speak, it's like we have not had any gap between us,
Yeah, no one.
and it's kind of it's yeah, because I wonder about that where we I know my dad loves me, I know my mum loves me, and I love them very much as well, and so when we talk, and it's just a trust that we know that's there, and it's like it doesn't feel like anything's missing, and I can call my dad up and we'll just have a chat as though it's just a normal chat, not like where there's a whole bunch of
Right.
catching up to do or anything like that. I mean, he's out playing bowls and doing dancing, chasing girls, that kind of thing. So that's I know he does that. That's what he's doing. Um, and it sort of all doesn't change. And I don't need to know the detail of that. But when
Yeah,
we connect,
enjoying life.
it's like because with my dad, we can. I mean, when my dad and I see each other, um, we always give each other a hug. We can say I love you," which is not always as common, for boys and or dads and sons, boys and dads. That's not always
Mhm.
common. Um, and I think the hardest thing to do is I can ask my dad for help, which the first time I had to ask my dad for help as an adult, was really that was really challenging. Like to make that phone call and say, "Dad, I need some help," Um, and yeah, I mean, my dad helped and he was really supportive, and but still, even now, um, you know, I can ask him for help, but it's still there's still that thing. It's like I don't know whether you want to or not, but it's that I'm just trying to
He's
think.
not. I think he's not expecting, but at the same time, he's ready.
Yeah. But same time, my dad's called me for help too, which is interesting. So it's a two-way street. There's times where he'll call me and go, "Look, I've got this
Yeah.
issue. Can you help me out with that?" And it's an area where I can help, and so he's comfortable asking me for help as well, which is um it's a different relationship. But so we are comfortable not speaking to each other. He's actually coming to visit next week, which is he. I
Okay.
don't think the last time he's been to this house is probably about 3 years ago. So
Wow.
I mean, I've seen my dad, in between. He's come to the city and we've caught up in the city, but, yeah, but it's fun.
But I think, Damien, we are coming from a different generation,
Mm,
because while you were talking, I just thought, like, I just mentioned about my daughter getting together on the iPhone, FaceTime, or so on,
yeah,
because this is the generation with this opportunity. We didn't grow with that communication that often.
Mm,
Yes, I remember to live close to my mom.
mm,
I have my apartment. She's on her house, and I'm like, probably, I would say every Sunday I would see her because I'm not that far.
yeah.
But wouldn't be something like or sending a message to my mom or my mom calling me. That
Mm,
wouldn't happen because we didn't have that.
no.
And I remember 2000, I think it was 99 or something when the phones came up because I used to have a what's the name of that beeper?
Oh, the pager. You used
Yeah,
to have
the
a
pay
pager.
was
The
something
pager
that
go
I
off and
would
it'd
put.
have a number on it, and you'd have to call the number. Yeah,
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 so before the phone, I had that, and then even so I can't see. Even my mom already passed away, my dad as well.
mm,
But my mother, I remember even living here, I would call my mom. I don't know. I wouldn't say 1 month, 2 months. Um, but there we go. There is no. We know. I knew that she's there. She knew that I was here, but we don't have that kind of. I think it's the generation. It's they
yeah,
just keeping using calling, or texting. I don't know. Maybe it's from there that we have this kind of relationships with our parents. All
yeah,
depends.
yeah.
I
'Cause we,
think.
we we didn't have certainly. Yeah, we didn't have mobile phones when we were kids. Um, the same as you.
And that makes a difference
Yeah,
because
and I
I
left
can be
like you. I mean, you
sorry.
left home relatively early as well. I mean, I left home when I was 18. I joined the army, and then I went across to the other side of the country.
Yeah.
And again, no mobile phones or anything like that. And living on the army base, I didn't have my own phone in my room or anything like that. So there
Hmm.
wasn't really much communication with my parents,
Yeah.
because they're on the other side of the country. Um, and I think too, I wanted to get away as well and just be away and
Hmm.
do my own thing in my own area and in my own way. So I didn't want to have that, but I do remember there was also too. I think there was a period. Oh, this was after I was in the army, but I was still living on the other side of the country. So I was in Perth, and my dad's in Victoria. And I'd left the army, and I was actually working up in the mine sites in northwestern Australia. But he was going through a funny period where he was feeling really sorry for himself. And every time we'd communicate or something like that, I can't remember how much we did communicate, but when we did, he was having a bit of a whine about how feeling sorry for himself. And eventually I got really annoyed with that. I just didn't want to listen. I was like, you got to stop this. And so I actually wrote a letter to him. And I said, I can't remember. My dad still got it, but I said something along the lines of, "You need to get." He knows what's in there, and you'll when I get to the end of the story, you'll understand why. But it was something along the lines of, "You need to get your act together. You got to stop moping around. Here's a couple of books," and I think I gave him Think and Grow Rich, and a couple of other books like that. I said, "Read these and get your life together. I'm sick of listening to your whinge." Was basically what I said, and um, the thing was, he actually he did, in that sense. He took that,
That's
on
powerful.
board and changed, but the thing that followed on from that was there was a period in my life a few years ago where it got really difficult from my perspective, again, being a single parent. There was a number of things. Financial was an issue. My dad did help me out financially. That enabled, me to keep Benjamin in school, um, and a few other things like that. It was really dark times, and he was very supportive. And I was on the way to the city, and I was wearing a suit, so I was, like, dressed up really going, where was I going? I can't remember. I was going to the city, and I was wearing a suit, and I was on the train, and I just at that moment, I sent a message to my dad saying, "Look, I just wanted to say I really appreciate, the support you've given me. You've helped me get through this difficult time." And he wrote back. The bastard wrote back on the as I'm on the train, he goes, "No, I need to thank you for the letter you sent me because you saved my life. And so there I am on this train in a suit, bawling my eyes out because going, oh my God, okay, that's right. So you bastard, you know. I'm
I
trying
need
to
you.
look like this professional person crying my eyes out on a train full of people, and it's like it was just
You
a
remember me that I helped you.
yeah, it was just like, and he said he still has the letter that I sent him from then, and I said I thought I was being a bit of a prick, telling because I just didn't. I got sick of listening to him, and it's like, here, do this, get better, sort your life out. It's like, come on, you've moped around for enough time now, move on, and but yeah, and
Amazing
it
how
was
things turn, because in like I was saying, regarding my mom and the communication where we start this talking about our parents.
mm,
Uh, I can tell you that with my daughter, I was completely different from my mom with me,
mm,
because she grew up with phones, mobile phones.
yeah,
So I remember to buy a simple mobile
yeah,
with not these ones with the so much things to do, but a simple one. Back in the days, we had the Nokias and so
yeah,
on. And she would leave the school, take the bus. She would send me a message,
yeah,
"Mom, I'm in the bus. Mom, I arrive at home because I'm working.
yeah,
Mom, I had the food. Mom, blah blah blah." So this this actually became so natural
yeah,
for many many years,
yeah,
that till 2 years ago, I think,
mm,
there was an explosion of emotions from my daughter.
yeah,
Because in her mind, with 22 years old, I think it was
mm,
22, she started to think, you are always on top of me. Naturally, if you understand what I mean, it was
mm,
natural. It's not like um I'm supervising you. It's
yeah,
just the way she grew
yeah,
made us, without thinking, wait a minute, we need to stop this. Now you are 20, now you're 21, now we're 22, but we didn't stop. She's still going out with her friends and say, "Mom, I'm going there. Mom, I arrived.
yeah,
Mom." And was a day she came to me and she said, you always, it really wake me up,
yeah,
because I really cried. Like you were saying,
yeah,
you cried to your dad,
yeah,
and your dad said, "No, you saved me."
yes,
And she was telling me that I'm too close to her, like
yeah,
looks like I'm on top of her. And I'm
yeah,
like, "Oh." I woke up and I cried a lot, because I never thought that I'm
yeah,
giving this kind of feeling to her, because I'm so used to, and she's so used to. But at the same time, she was keeping to herself that this is not right, this is not right, but she's not
yeah,
sharing, till the day she shared.
yeah,
And my life changed.
yeah, I can
I
imagine.
felt so sad, Damien. So trust me, I felt like the world clapped on, like collapsed
What
on
was that
me, and I'm like,
when you say that changed? What was that? Was it like that you weren't part of her life anymore, or what? Or,
no, it changed because I felt that I hurt her.
oh,
I
like yeah,
felt,
you felt an obligation that she needed that you were imposing an obligation she needed to stay in contact. Was that?
yeah, became like the impression she gave me was like, I am ordering you to say
Um,
that you safe or something, because was no longer that mini that baby girl that.
yeah.
And I didn't realize, and she didn't, because I think this needs communication between people.
Mm,
And we didn't, I just living, I don't know, I really didn't think about it. And when she said that, I see the suffocation. It's like, for
yeah,
me, I was doing something really bad
yeah,
for her. And she just wake me up and change, because I don't really need to be worried or expecting, because she's
mm,
a adult now.
yeah,
But was so normal that she would go to the other side, or she would go, like, let's say she's going to dinner with her friends or clubbing. Mama, I just arrived. This is a simple for me.
Yeah.
I didn't grow like that, but I had a relationship like that with my daughter.
But it sounds like that was a habit that just continued on. It wasn't actually you imposing it, but
No,
it also
yes,
sounds like she actually then became an adult. She said, "Actually, this is what I need." Is that
yeah. But the way she approached,
yeah.
or she, I think this is me thinking.
Mm,
Um, I think like she, let's say she spoke with me, she was 22 years old, but
yeah.
she probably wanted to speak with me when she was 18, but she didn't have the courage because she thought, oh, because the way she explained to me, she said, I don't want to hurt you, or,
Yeah.
but I think it's, and I'm like, what a big thing. When I
Mm,
was just a habit, for me, it was a habit, just communication. And I'm like, wow, we can damage someone like that, because
yeah.
I felt like I probably was damaging her. I
Really?
felt really
With
bad.
but was it I mean, 'cause it said it I understand it, the when you were younger, it was to her letting you know that everything's okay, which is understand 'cause you
Hmm.
worked, and she was there, and she was young, and that would be natural for you to have comfort that she's okay as a parent.
Yes.
And then I can't imagine that you were imposing that on her later. It was a habit, and I would imagine your perspective. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you would have just taken that as, oh, she's keeping me up to date as to what she's doing, as opposed to an
Yeah.
obligation that you had imposed on her. And it
Yes,
sounds like
totally. But
her perception was that.
change.
Well, it sounds like she created that feeling that
Yeah.
obligation, even though that you
Yes.
weren't putting that there. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Because you did change.
Mm.
Like you decide I don't want, but you didn't share. And then
Yes.
you keep. And when came to me, I'm like, what? And I was shocked because I just
Yeah.
said, for me, it's just a normal thing, nothing complicated. But this build up inside her, and
Mm.
because she changed, and I didn't realize she changed because still saying, doing the same thing in the normal way. It's like, give me notice about if she's safe or not, which is not a crime. But it was like, it did shock me, but shocked me for one day or so. Because I
Mm.
said, at the end of the day, I know I'm not, I know who I am. I know um, that was not my intention, but
Mm.
made me wake up to say, okay, next time I don't have more kids, but if I would have another one, I will say, are you ready to stop?
But
Send
from
me
your
message.
perspective too, I mean, because that's kind of a difference between you and I as single parents, because you had your daughter the entire time.
Yeah.
If I understand correctly, she didn't like go. Whereas in my situation, it was a 50-50 split roughly. So there'll be time with Benjamin was with me, then he'd go back to his mum, and then come back to me. So there was always for me, and that was and I would imagine be difficult for all parents is, if your child is with you and they're not with you for a period of time, you'd be worried about that. Um,
Mhm.
and for me, it certainly was hard to let go. So I can imagine from your perspective, even though, she was an adult, you still care about her just as much. Then, that doesn't
Till
change.
my last day,
Yeah.
till the day I leave this world, it will be like that.
Yeah.
He's our babies, he's our kids, and okay, because no matter if you're not talking with your parents, like
Mm,
we are adults now, like you said, you don't talk often,
yeah.
but I'm sure that your mom thinks about you, and
Oh,
um,
definitely. Yeah.
deeply she feels it is all right,
Mm,
because it's a natural thing. It's a
yeah.
woman, is a motherhood, fatherhood. It's not something that we just no, they fine.
Well, so I do
He's
the
always
same for them too. It's like, oh, well, the
yeah,
same for my parents, but also too for my son when he's not with me.
right.
He goes and stays over with some friends, and I'm thinking about, is he still all right? Is he okay? I haven't heard anything. I don't want to, but I don't message him because I don't want to disturb him. And but same token, you're right. You're thinking about it. Are they okay? Um,
Yeah, you always think. So it's gonna be forever, but I just had a awakening.
Yeah. Did you have
So like,
that, like, with your parents as well? Like, because I mean, this was your daughter effectively saying, "Hey, I'm an adult, and this is what I need," and she let that build up for a little bit. But did you have like that awakening moment with your parents where you were saying, "Okay, this is I'm an adult now," or
no, because we live in a different era.
yeah,
There we go. Like I said before, I was talking about the phones and the
mm,
communication. I didn't had I had my rebel times,
yeah,
but nothing like my mom was asking me where I
yeah,
went. But she always I grew up in a family that I never had reasons to hide.
yeah,
My mom always been very open. If I would uh, if I would start a relationship with a boyfriend,
yeah,
my mom, it was not because I'm worried she will kick me or she will do something bad to me. It's like the first person I want to share is with my mom.
yeah,
No matter if I'm bringing him home or not, I'm
yeah.
gonna say, "Mom, I've got a boyfriend."
Okay, yeah,
Oh, you got a boyfriend? Yeah, it was something that I don't, and I raised my daughter like that as well.
mm,
But I didn't have that. I was I was a rebel, or like
yeah.
the black sheep
Black sheep, yeah. What did you
in my.
do? When you say a rebel, what did you get up to?
It's just I think on one of the things that life taught me after now that not because my mom passed away already, but even when she was here, I think we were very similar. I was very identical to her or
So
something.
she was a rebel
Like,
too.
yeah, because on her story, she was a rebel. Like
Yeah,
on her parents and sisters, she would come and say, "No, you don't know that." And this is Yola. Yola would come. I would say, sorry, my dog. I would say no when everyone is saying yes
yeah.
because it doesn't make sense. It's not just because it's Christmas that I need to go to spend Christmas on uncle that I never know. For
Yeah,
some reason, I never saw, and I need to go to that house. I'm like,
yeah,
really? And I would go and very upset, and I would stay all the time like this.
yeah.
Because this is my
Yeah,
that was me.
yeah,
Because and my mom, Yola, why you like that? And I'm like, because I don't agree with everything, and
yeah,
and I don't agree with the wrong things when everyone is no. It's just
yeah, so you
it's
were
just
comfortable saying you didn't fit, you didn't do it because it was everyone was expecting it, you did what was right for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even to the point that my mom took me to a psychologist, psychiatric, I don't know,
Uh,
to do some tests because I was, as I said, my daughter is not right. And I, when I arrived to the clinic, the doctor sat me down and made me do some tests
yeah,
with some instruments and some writing tests. And
yeah.
I scored the top, and he said, "Listen, your daughter don't have any problem." On that day, I laughed so much because my mom was thinking I'm crazy. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. You are crazy. Because she took me, she was so scared. And the
Yeah.
doctor said, listen, yeah, your daughter don't have any problem. She's
Mm,
actually, she has IQ, very high IQ.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh, actually, thank you. I felt that day, I felt super mega powerful. I said, Be- Then you know what? Because I would close myself at my room,
Yeah,
right. Oh, sleep, because I
yeah.
don't want. talk. I don't want to talk. If I'm outside, that's fine. I'm with my friends, but and then I had my times when I was on gothic, I was on rock, I was on a lot of things, different styles, and my mom would say, "This girl is something," because I'm the only one that change and do things
Yeah.
different. Yeah,
But you
I
found
have
your
that.
own way. I mean, that was part of,
Yeah,
because you're very independent and do the things that are right for you. Um,
yeah.
how did you like? Because again, thinking about it, what do you think was the most challenging part about being a single parent?
Mm. uh, till today, I think is when it comes to celebrations,
Yeah.
Father's Day, um, birthdays,
Mm.
because now my daughter father, unfortunately, he passed away. I don't know if I spoke with you about this
No, no, you didn't.
before, but unfortunately, he passed away on 24th of December. So
Oh,
yeah, for it's now 9 years past, I think, but for
wow.
6 years
That's
or
pretty
so,
very young though.
yes, he was 32, I think. I don't know.
Really,
Yeah,
very
or
young.
more, 34, around that. But for the next 6 years after he passed away, or 7 years, there was
Mm.
no Christmas anymore.
Right.
No point. No point. No, because I remember to go to people's houses and
Mm.
my family house, and everyone is happy, but I can't be happy. It was something that completely completely smash that simple day that used to be very happy, and was the day when my daughter was expecting to see him.
Yes.
So that completely broke her heart because he didn't arrive, but
Yeah.
he arrived but no news. So these days are tough
Mm.
to take, to carry on, because even today we pass that, we're not suffering and like feeling things like that, but there is always a silence. There
Mm.
is always a moment
Yeah.
that we remember,
Yeah.
and no matter what, it's gonna be to the rest of our lives. I will be smiling, but I will be celebrating. Now I celebrate even the Christmas tree. Took us years to bring back, because I allowed my daughter to decide that, because
Yeah.
she was completely broke, and I couldn't see. I had to have this conversation about it, if she's ready to have, and then I don't know if it was. I really can't believe it. I remember if it was 4 years ago or 5 years ago that we start to bring the tree to the house and make some
Yeah.
decorations, because it's not like it's not Christmas, but it's because it was so painful.
Yeah.
So it became something that we avoid to, you know. But nowadays we do, and but there is always a moment. I know, even if she don't share with me, or even
Yeah.
myself, tend to have a specific time on that day that I remember the incident, that he didn't came, and my daughter was expecting.
Yeah.
So these kind of dates, and his birthday and Father's Day, even before he passed before, was hard for me, because living in a different country and everyone is celebrating, and she don't have the dad, or she
Mm.
she can't do everything she does for the father she gives to me. That's tough. That's really tough, because
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to take that. I don't want to take that. And another times as well was when something that I to know, sometimes you have to decide something for your kids,
Yeah.
and or even if it's a trip to somewhere, and I would
Yeah.
like to have that opinion. What do you
Yeah.
think? should we send our kids? And I didn't, and that was so frustrating. Even if I had a boyfriend or that time, it's just the father figure, the real father. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was rather. That's the hard, the the more difficult times I can share.
Yeah, so that's, having that other person there to have that conversation about what are the things that we need to do and how do we do that. That's what I'm hearing from that perspective. Obviously, the
Mhm.
Christmas thing was different because was your daughter's dad in her life much from when she was born, or was he in the separate country and it was more. um
No, when we came to the UK when she was 5, but
yeah,
till then, he was part of her life.
yeah.
Yeah, even when we go there. So on that specific year, we actually made our trip to spend Christmas for the first time,
Mm,
because we were here from 2003 and we always spent Christmas here with my sisters and my nephews. But in 2009, I decided, okay, let's go back home and spend there.
yeah.
And her father knew. So it was the first time we went to spend Christmas in Portugal, and was
Mm,
the last time. Basically, now I can say that I went there to make the funeral for my daughter's father, because it just we arrived on 19, and then our life just poof changed,
yeah,
because you can imagine, right? You come into your country, you want to see your friends, your family, and
yeah,
my daughter's father, of course, because she's willing to see her father, and I'm willing to for her to get together with
yeah,
him. And then we didn't have the chance, and it was like first time in Portugal after leaving
yeah,
Christmas. So it was, yeah, but he was part of his our life. Um, Yeah, because yeah, he was part. I can't say no. Yeah.
yeah. And how was it, like, from that perspective where you're saying, having not having that person there to make the decisions with? Because from my perspective, it was all about trying to maintain stability, wanting to make sure that he stayed in the same school, and because that was difficult. There was a number of reasons that was difficult. Financially, it was difficult, and then there were some other pressures where his mum wanted to relocate him to a different school. And I'm like, well, I don't think that's right. And we weren't, not good at communicating, so we didn't really talk about it. I actually learned about it separately through Benjamin, actually, that she'd enrolled him in another school. And I'm like, hang on a minute, that's not the way to do these things. Um, so again, having that person to talk about that sort of stuff. I mean, I didn't have that as well, but for me, it was like, okay, we've got this routine. Let's maintain that consistency, and it was always about trying to keep that consistency there
Hmm.
for him, and keeping it consistent, and keeping him um,
Stable.
well, yeah, stable and separate from the other things that were going on, because when parents break up, I don't think the children should be involved in that. So I made a point of not talking about it, with him, about
Hmm.
things to do with his mum. It was more, I just focused on what he was doing with me. But that created difficulties as well, because I had to, obviously earn money, and there was a period of time where I needed to travel a bit for work. So I would, with the way the structure worked, there were some days he was with me at the start of the week, and then the later part of the week he was with his mum, and the weekends alternated. So there'd be time. The most longest period I didn't have him was 5 days, but generally it was, certainly every Monday and Tuesday night he was with me, which meant, outside of school holidays, when I was working away, there was a time where I was working 4 hours from where we were, so I would be staying away. I would drive back. My mum was wonderful during that period of time. My mum and my grandmother, who was alive then. My mum would drive up, and be there, because I wasn't expecting to be there in time to pick him up from school. So she would go pick him up with my grandma, which worked for my grandmother was really well because she was quite old. So she got to spend time with Benjamin, and he got to spend time with her, which he otherwise probably wouldn't have. And then I'd come home, and so I'd get home in time to cook dinner. So I'd be cooking dinner for my mum, my grandmother, and my son. Um,
Mhm.
and and then yeah, so I spend that time sort of working remotely. Technically, I'm working from home, but I'm working remotely because my work is 4 hours away for those days, and then he'd go to school, and then I'd drive back to the work site and work there while he wasn't there, and I have that space, but trying to maintain that stability, and really working hard to keep that stable for him, so he just had this consistent life. Um,
Right.
was really hard. It was a lot of work. Um, and also too, I mean, it was the financial pressure as well because um, there was a period there I wasn't quite earning enough money. My dad helped, which was great, that he could do that. I'm really grateful that he was in a position to help. Um, and maybe that's why I overcompensated with presents because it was like there was a time there it was like I know,
Mhm.
and just trying to maintain. And yeah, you mentioned about not having that person there. Well, yeah, there wasn't someone there, and also too reluctant to allow someone to get too involved as well because it's like you don't want to disrupt that routine. So it was
Yeah.
always, uh, it was very cautious about with the like in with other people getting involved in a new relationship because it was like I don't want I want that consistency for him, and maybe I overdid it and was overly, too protective.
Right. I think you, your parenthood or your story is different because you
Mm,
sharing a kid.
mm,
I
yeah,
didn't have that sharing
mm,
thing.
yeah,
Um, I know who is her dad, and um, I had a time that I know she has a dad,
mm,
and then I know where is he, and then I know where he's gone
yeah,
because I didn't had the I had everything on my shoulders basically. I didn't
mm,
had the and I don't know if I could cope something like you just said
mm,
because it is tough because you need to have a really in terms of mind, in terms of mental health, is quite tough
mm,
because you want to maintain stability for your children, and
mm,
then you need to maintain the basic relationship with the ex-partner because if you are always example your relationship is based on arguing and anger and so on,
mm,
that will affect our children. So we need to know exactly how
mm,
to deal with everything, plus the work, plus where we live, plus the bills, plus the trips. I was
yeah.
just listening and I don't know if I could do it. I don't know. And I never been on there. I'm sorry, but I think both sides, both stories are different and are hard. Um,
How did you
yes.
get through? How did like? Because I mean, it's different. Like if for people that have their relationship where they have both parents there, even if one parent's not working, I mean, the other one parent's working, the other one's at home. There's a lot of stuff that that parent at home will do to make that easier. But
Mhm.
when you're by yourself, you don't have that. Like I was washing, I was, doing the dishes, cooking, working and balancing it all. I mean, how did you cope with that? How did you fit it all in?
Fine. Can't think. I can't think about. I don't. That's fine. There was times that I want to go out or want to do something with friends or just do something for myself. And I
Mm,
remember saying, "Don't worry, Yola. Your daughter will grow, and you will have all
mm,
the time." And that's true. on the end of the day. But the funny thing is, the time now is here, and I'm not doing anything that that I used to say I want to do when she grew up.
Yeah,
But the time was that time that I
yeah,
should go out and shoot because I was young and free, and I just want to do things.
mm,
But in between, during my journey, I met people that I could trust my
mm,
daughter, because there is not that many people that I could say I did trust,
yeah,
regarding to leave my daughter
yeah,
and to go for a club or to go to another country. So I
mm,
only had, if I can remember, I only had three people that
yeah,
I would say, okay, I feel safe to leave her with them, with that person.
nice.
So with the time that I had a friend, a Spanish friend, and she was very close to me. She had a girl as
Mm,
well. She was married, and I have a really good relationship with them. And I said to her, "Do you mind if I go to Barcelona, um, 3 days?" And she said, "No, guapa, just go." And
yeah,
I went by myself. I never been there. I didn't know anyone.
yeah,
I went for the weekend and it was wicked. It was amazing.
yeah,
Just and I left my daughter there on at her place, and I came back, and I completely. I think we as a parents, we do feel, we
mm,
have that instinct. I
yeah,
do, because I'm a lioness, and if someone will do something
yeah.
to my daughter, I will come with all.
The claws will come
I
out.
will come all in, ready to
Yeah,
kill. Yeah, so I did. Thank God, I did leave my daughter with the right people. I trust them,
yeah.
and I never doubt about it. And yeah,
Do you think it made you stronger in your ability to do things and get things done by, being that single parent? I know, said from my perspective, it was because I had to do so much and I had to organize it, and it wasn't really an option. So it wasn't in
yeah,
my mind, it was never an option to not do it. And so I had
hmm
to find a way of doing it, and I had to grow. So I had to, and also, like you say, that lioness side of things, from my perspective, it was always about, giving him the opportunity to be the best that he could be. And it wasn't about, yes, I know I talked about presence and things at the start, but my real focus was always from when he was little, and that continued on very, um astutely, maybe that's not the right word, but I really emphasized developing his character, as
hmm
opposed to I wasn't too fussed about education. I mean, it was important, education's important, but I was really important about his character, about, developing him to be a good person, and being that example as well, from leading by example. So for me, it was, okay, with all this stuff going on, I'm actually it for I think, I don't know if it force is the right word, but I really wanted to go, okay, in spite of all this, I'm going to lead by example. I'm going to be, and that's why I've never yelled at him, ever. Um, and especially afterwards, it was always, okay, I'm going to be an example of being calm. And then when something goes wrong, we're going to deal with it in a rational way. We're going to talk about it. We're going to sort through it. And it really, for me, helped me be probably a better person than I would have been if I wasn't a single parent. Um,
mm
I mean, it's hard to know, but I really know those things pushed me to develop more, to really think about how I do things, because I didn't have someone else to fall back on, in the sense of, in my world. Obviously, he went
right,
to in his mum's world was different, but in my world, and it was like I wanted to give him that stability, and I also wanted to give him that good character development. So to me, I felt it made me stronger, made me a better person, because I needed to be a good example for him. Did you, have something like, from your perspective? How do you think it affected your development as
yeah. I I would say that being a mom or parent is a profession.
yes, without an
Exactly.
instruction manual generally.
It is a profession.
Yeah.
And I always had that thing, that perspective that I have to do it no matter
Mm.
what,
Yeah.
my best. So
Mm.
this one thing that I want to mention as well is, despite the fact that we're not together as parents,
Mm.
one of the things that I believe there is no point to be trying to put your children against your other parent, because
Yeah,
there is
100%.
families, there is a lot of people that does that, and
Mm.
I've seen with my eyes. I've tried to
Mm.
help them, but in the end of the day, is the way you think, the way you believe, your values and everything is someone that is inside. But
Mm.
it is a profession that made me to be more organized, because more responsible, because every single job, for example,
Mm.
that I took after being a mom,
Yeah.
become a mom, a mother, I think pieces of my success
Mm.
because I'm a mother. Because I had to wake. One of the things is like wake up.
Mm.
Sorry, wake up, feed your kids,
Yeah.
take to school. There is times, there is specific. You need to organize yourself,
You can't call
because
a sickie.
no, I remember,
Mm.
like I said to you, I was explaining to me that my mom took me to psychiatrist or
Mm.
psychologist, to do the tests,
Yeah.
because I was sleeping. I love to sleep. I used to sleep a lot.
Yeah.
And,
That's normal though, isn't it?
but when my daughter born, I didn't make any excuses. It did happen naturally. I stopped
Mm.
to sleep that much. But guess what? My daughter born with my syndrome. Sleep, sleep,
She
sleep.
sleeps all the time.
She never gave me headaches. She
Yeah.
always slept. Till
Yeah.
today, she
Yeah.
can sleep more than 12 hours in a row, which is part of me, because I can't I can't say it differently, because I used to sleep
Yeah.
like crazy. If my mom allows me to go to a club,
Mm.
um, and I arrive, because in my country, when we go to a club, we leave home like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock a.m., and we come back 7 o'clock, 8 a.m. in the
Yeah.
morning. So I would sleep till 8 p.m. No problem. I don't need food. I don't need anything. My mom would go there and say, "Why are you alive? You need to come and eat." Just because I go out for dance, so I get
Yes.
tired, so I need to sleep. It's
Yeah.
just me. And my daughter is the same, and I don't blame her. I don't. I said, "Wow, this is a." It's funny to see my clone. It's like I'm seeing someone on. So I'm seeing mine. It's like a mirror. Some
Yeah.
things that she does, it's exactly like I did. So I can't argue about it. Um, yeah, I had a lot of. I think that profession or that job take us to another level. Definitely to a
Yeah.
level where
But it's
we we can be better persons, like you said as well.
yeah, well, it was a case like you say, it's like you don't really have an option. If they've got to be at school, you've got to be up, you've got to get them ready, you've got to make the
Yeah.
lunch. Especially, I mean, when they're younger, so you're making the lunch, getting all that organized, um, and you're trying to guide them as well. And they've got some homework. I remember, when first it was like, so we'd get together, and I made sure we had dinner together. So we had dinner at the table, so we could just and I made it a thing that we sat down together, and so we could have those conversations.
Mhm.
And sometimes we didn't talk a lot, but it was like we were sitting there together having dinner, and then we'd also, it was either before or after dinner, I would sit with him with some homework to do as well, whether it was a school homework or I would find some little bits of extra bits to do, whether it was some spelling or little worksheets I would find, and we'd sit down at the table and we'd do them together, which I think is a hangover from when I was a kid, because my mum used to, we used to go to school and we'd come home and my mum had an hour and a half of homework for us to do. My sister and I had a sister who was a year younger, and we'd come home and we'd have an hour and a half of homework to do every night. And I think, I mean, I flashed back to that, but it was like, okay, you know, you've got a bit of homework to do, or you've got a little bit of where there was the teacher had identified, because you go through that process, don't you? You have the parent teacher interview. It's only you, so for in my case, even though his mum was there, we weren't together in those situations, so it was okay. And when we disagreed anyway, so it was like. um, so I'm like, okay, we need to do this, and so I'd be spending that time with him, but it wasn't an option. It's like you couldn't be sick. I mean, I don't recall being sick where I like, oh, okay, I can't take.
Yeah,
I never made that phone call where it was like, okay, he can't come to school because I can't get myself organized.
that's so true. It's true.
Um,
I remember. I don't recall that as well.
so
Never been sick.
I think, and that's where being that parent was like. Instead of, I mean, it's difficult, like you say, you mentioned before about not having someone to have those discussions with about, what to do and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But it helped also develop that resilience of going, okay, I'm gonna,
You did mention about your mom that used to sit down with you
yeah,
to do the homework, and you're done with your kids. It is That is something that we bring up from our child, like from our education, from our parents. There's certain things that we did with our kids or we do with our kids
mm,
that is from our broad, like where how we've been raised.
yeah,
Some things are bad, some things are good, but
mm,
and then we decide which ones. I think in my opinion, I think it's like that, because a lot of things, like you just said, sitting down to have dinner. For me, I grew up like that,
yeah,
having dinner, having lunch, no
yeah,
matter what.
yeah,
And even today, my daughter lives in another
mm,
era that if I'm not at home, or if I'm not joining her at the
mm,
table to have food, she will be with her food and her phone on the side.
yeah,
But sorry, but with me, I already said to her, when we are sitting down at the table, to her, to every friend of her, because they come, her friends, best friends, they call me mom, and we have a really good relationship. So when we are all together, I don't
mm,
care whoever you want to see on Instagram or whatever. So no phones allowed on the table. No
yeah,
one is touching anything, because I grew up like that. I've been raised like that, and I believe on that, because the moment we sat to we sit for a meal,
mm,
is a time for we connect to each other, to eat, to enjoy our food, to be grateful, but at the same time to to spend time together.
yeah,
It's not to be spending time with the other things of the world, to
yeah,
watching TV. This is not my kind of thing. I didn't. I haven't been raised like that. So in my house, we never had a TV
yeah,
while we eating.
yeah,
And I know that is normal for some people, but because I didn't grow up like that,
mm,
I found weird. I found, for me, it's not right. It's just, and so I don't. It's very rare that I sat myself in the sofa watching something and eating.
yeah,
Only if it's snacks, but having a meal, I don't remember. It's very rare, unless I'm sick, and I'm there like,
yeah,
and my someone is still trying to give me food, but otherwise, and it's very rare to have a plate in my hand, and no, that doesn't. It's two things completely different. No phones allowed on the tables or television or anything, because I grew up like that. So, and that comes as well, just to say that about the fact that you share the that your mom doing the homework and you doing again with him. So probably, yeah, it comes from your parents, because my mom didn't do that with me, and I didn't do with my daughter, because she was always worried about work. She was single mom. She had 4 children, and one that she raised as well, so 5 in total.
Wow.
And she's working hard, so she didn't have time. I don't remember no one sat down with me and made my homework.
Yeah.
That's why I became rebel. Okay. But with my daughter, I remember I changed a little bit. I did sat her down.
Yeah.
I said, okay, now it's time for you to do your homework. But I never, was very rare that I would be there trying to help her. And I did realize, because I was studying as well for my studies.
Yeah.
You know what what I'm coming from? Because I was doing my studies.
Yeah.
And she was studying. So I had the sharing moment, but not supporting like you were doing.
Yeah.
The difference.
Well, that was interesting, like you say, when you were doing the studies, because we had the COVID period for quite a bit of time when we had lockdown, and us here in Victoria, we were lockdown capital of the world. We had so many, or maybe China's taken over now, but certainly we had a record number of lockdown days. But it was just, I found that really interesting because and the way I'm not sure if it was deliberate or not, because I mean, Benjamin doesn't have a TV in his room, like you were talking about, no TVs, and similar, same. I grew up the same sort of thing. We sat down at dinner. There was no TV at dinner. We had dinner in the kitchen, and that's how initially was doing things. At home, as I mentioned. Now he's a little bit older, and he's talking with his friends, and I kind of, I'm busy doing things as well. So it's like we kind of, and this is a hangover from lockdown, was when we had lockdown, I set up in our lounge room, because the way my house is situated, I've got a reserve behind me, so it's all parkland, and so I've got a desk, there's a fireplace, and then Benjamin's desk is on the other side. So we were set up, looking out the window of this park. But what I found really interesting was that it gave a number of different things, but certainly, when during the lockdown period and he's attending school online, I got to, because I was working at my desk and he was at his desk, and we're like, it's just literally over there, and it's a few meters away. I got to experience his interactions at school, so I got to see, and listen to his responses to the teacher, and it was all stuff that never, and because we had extended periods of lockdown, so there was a lot of time where he's in school and I'm watching him and listening to him participate in the class and respond, and it was a real eye opener for me, that it was like, wow, you're actually, really intelligent. Was one thing. It's like, with me, I was like, I'm listening to some of these responses, and I'm going, oh wow, that's, and also too, I think that helped because we were close and literally close. So when he'd have a break, I could say, hey, I heard that. I was really impressed with that. So that gave us probably a connection that we wouldn't otherwise have had, because I wouldn't have experienced that. And that kind of flowed through to now, even after lockdown, we still have the desks here. And where, so, I mean, he'll play with his video games and things like that, but it's not like he's off in his room, like where a lot of people, that can happen. Whereas, it's set up, so his computer and everything is set up on the desk here, and and when I work, and even because I work odd hours, so sometimes we'll be working and he'll be playing a video game while he's got dinner, but he's right there next to me while I'm doing some work while I'm having dinner, and then we'll have a bit of an interaction or something like that, or he gets to experience. I mean, he sat there playing video games while I'm recording a podcast, so he's getting that. Even because, and I've noticed now when he plays, he has the headphones on, but he has one off. So he's actually listening to what's going on around him, which is interesting. He's not so much on his own.
He said,
Yeah,
"My dad is rock. He rocks. Hey,
yeah.
my dad is a great guy." Because the way the way you said about your son, you said, "Oh, he's actually intelligent." You probably been thinking about yourself as well, like, "Wow, this is my dad. I'm very proud."
Yeah. Well,
That's
I do. I
good.
mean, I tell him all the time, I see something and I go really, and we had a bit of a laugh because when the movie June that came out earlier this year or whenever it came out, we went and watched that together, and we laughed. There's a scene in that movie because it's the son is supposed to take over the throne, and he's not sure if he wants to take over the throne, and they're out and they're having a discussion about it. The dad and the son, they're out in the field somewhere, and the dad says to him, he says, "Look, you know, you've got to make your own decisions, and it doesn't matter." I'm paraphrasing what you do because you're already everything you need to be. You're my son, and that's all you need to be. And we laughed at that because that's what I said to him. I said, "Look, I don't, you know, you do whatever you want with your life. If you mess it up, it's your fault. You can come to me for help. My dad helped me, but you know, don't blame me. I'm giving you the choice to do whatever you want." He said, "From my perspective, you're everything you need to be. You're my son. That's all you ever need to be. I'll always love you, and you know you'll always be my son. You don't need to be anything more, from in my eyes." And so yeah, we laughed a lot when that came up on the June movie. They've stolen our line.
That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah. So I
Wow.
just wanted to I don't know, and maybe said maybe I was overcompensating because I was a single parent and I was like, I mean, because we do things together. Like I would get involved in his games. Like, I mean, obviously, I mean, I played video games as a kid. I was always going to friends' houses because they had better video games than I did. Because my other parents brought, you know, their kids the I think it was the Atari 2600 back then, which was the video game console to have, and my dad bought a Dick Smith System 80 computer, which didn't have very good games on it at all. So I was always going to friends' houses. But with Benjamin, there was he wanted to, he was playing Minecraft, so we'd actually get in Minecraft together, and we'd be playing together, and we built like Jurassic Park. So we made these dinosaurs in the cages and stuff like that, and we made there was a Lego. It wasn't Lego, it was mini blocks, and it was a Titanic. But because the mini blocks were little squares and the Minecraft were little squares, we actually made the model of the Titanic from the instructions of the mini blocks within Minecraft, and we did that together. So we
Mm.
are doing all this stuff, and sort of we'd be building it together, and we'd build our own little things and join them up and stuff like that. So that was really fun. But I think one of the other lessons we had with the video games was we're playing a racing game, and I had the console, so I had the steering wheel and the seat and things like that, and we're playing the game. And he would do a race, then I would do a race, and we're going backwards and forwards like that. And then for some reason, whatever, he had maybe he was getting tired or something like that, but he had a really, really shocking race, and he was getting really frustrated. I could see as he's doing, he's getting more and more frustrated, making more and more mistakes. And I think it took him like 5 minutes to get around the track when the time is like a minute or something like that. And he was just like, and he was gonna, and I thought, no, I know it's my turn, but I said, that's when something goes wrong and you don't win, it's not about going away and sulking in the corner. You need to use that to bounce back. And so you're going to do that race again. I made a computer game lesson, but it's like you get back on there, do it again. And what I want you to do is focus forward and focus on what you're doing. Stay calm and just focus where you're going and do that. So he actually did it, and he actually had the best race he'd ever had. Did best time that he'd ever done on the track. And I said, "What did you learn from that?" And he says, "Yeah, you always keep going." And it was like, and I think he was 8 when that happened, 8 or 9, and it was like, it was just
Mhm.
computer games. As much as people don't like them, I think it's how you use it. Um,
Yeah.
and it was like, life. I'm not a fan of participation medals, just because, and I'm not a fan of because I was listening to someone say that the kids played soccer but they didn't keep score, and it's like, well, maybe officially they didn't, but everyone, because that's the parents said that as well. We were all counting. It's like, how can you build resilience if you don't fail? Um,
That's right. Yeah.
it's not about, um, for me, I mean, winning's important. Winning fair, playing by the rules is important too. It's not about, they say, oh, it's not about winning or losing, it's how you play the game. I don't know that I agree with that. If you're not striving to do your best, i.e., to try and win, that's what the competition is. It's not about beating the other person down. You've got a set of rules, and your aim is to be like when I used to play squash when I was in the army, and the guy that I wanted to play with, he was like massively better than me. Um, but playing against him made me a better player. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't. I think I probably, out of all the times we played, I probably won about 8 games, and we played a lot. Um, but I got so much better playing him because he was so much better than me. And yet the winning was important. I wanted to win. I wanted to be better. And when I did win, it was like, yeah.
But that's why we when we read books about successful people and so on, like
Mm,
Herb Hacker, I don't know,
mm,
think to grow rich,
yeah.
like example, you will find is for me is on anything in life. If you like with money, right? Like the example from Herb Hacker, if you join the rich people, you're
Mm,
not just going to become rich, but you're going to learn. You're going to be smarter
yeah.
because no matter if you fail the game, because watching now, like another example, watching now the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you watch football, but I
Yeah.
do, and I'm like, they're so famous because sorry, Argentina, France, Portugal,
Yeah.
England, all these big teams that normally go to the semifinals, quarters, and so on.
Mm,
Loads of them they stopped. They were poor on the side at the beginning, but you know what? Because the other ones, like Morocco, for example, they've
mm,
been they've been watching these guys for many years.
yeah.
They've been learning
Yeah.
step by step to
Yeah.
get where they are because they know. Because when I watched the games, I said, "Wow, if you get comfortable,
Mm,
you're not going to get anywhere."
yeah.
So instead of not playing with the best ones, like you were saying, that guy made you a better competitor, you a better game, a better player,
Yeah.
because you was not you're not afraid to play with him. You know that you're not going to win now, but you keep going, and
Yes.
and that's the thing about, because when I watch the games, I'm like, wow, these guys really learned the lesson. Um, Morocco, in my opinion, Morocco, for example, they're not just doing their own thing
Mm,
because they have the how I say the word, I forgot the word. They have their own specifications to play on that certain places,
yeah.
but they also copying Ronaldo's, Messi's. They doing game like
Yeah.
they doing things that we only heard from one guy back in the days, and
Yeah.
now it's like 3 or 4 or 5 on side the same team is
Mm.
doing the same things, the same moves, the same dribblings. I'm like, whoa, these people is learning. It's been learning deep
Yeah.
to get where they are. And that's, I think, yeah, that's the thing. It's the only way. Yeah, it gives us more power and confidence to be able to carry on. I love it. I love
That's the
it.
point, isn't it? I mean, that's when you will look at our life that we live today, and that's part of why, we say at the start of Share.care's introduction that, we live in a different world today. We don't live in a zero-sum game. I mean, go back in history, not and you don't have to go back too far. We there were limited resources on the planet, and for someone to be better off, someone else had to miss out because if your pie is only so big, for you to have more, someone's got to have less, and that's why we had, you know, the invasions and all that kind of stuff, all the wars that happened, was because, you know, people wanted to make themselves better off. They had to take from someone else, and the Industrial Revolution changed that because what it did was it created value from innovation. And that's where that competition comes in, because the innovation, what it did was made a bigger pie. I mean, years ago, you know, having cheap air travel was never an issue because there wasn't any air travel to start with. It wasn't a problem. And then through innovation, we've created a bigger pie, so we can actually, I mean, you know, in today's world, there are more people living with more than any other time in history, because of that innovation has made that pie bigger. And that's where I think that competition is really important, to ingrain that, you know, that ability to go, okay, I'm gonna try to be that little bit better. I'm gonna try that little bit harder. And it's because then I can actually move forward and create something. It's not just in sports, it's in life. Like, I mean, when you think about, for example, you know, a cure for cancer, you know, we want people to be trying and not going, oh, it didn't work. You know, I got my participation medal. I'm going to, you know, it's like, that didn't work. I want to try again. I'm going to keep trying and I keep trying until we get it. And that's what creates that innovation. And that's where I think it's really important to have that competition, to go. It's not, again, winning. It's not, winning is important, but it's not about the winning. It's actually the bouncing back from not winning that's important.
Mhm.
And if you don't have that, if you don't have, okay, you actually need to, there's in a competition, especially if you're playing at the high, I'm a huge NASCAR fan. And part of the reason I like it is because of the equality that they create within the sport. They make it really, really, as much as possible, the cars are very equal, and it really comes down not just to the driver but the team as well. They limit, like if you compare a Formula One pit stop to a NASCAR pit stop, there's only 6 people that are allowed out on the pit lane for a NASCAR pit stop, and so they've got to come around, change the tires, go around the other side. Whereas in Formula One, you know, it's over in a couple of seconds because they've got, you know,
Yeah,
12
so
or
many
18,
people.
so many people on there. But it
Mhm.
means that those 6 people that come out, they have to be really, really good at what the whole lot, and the whole synchronization needs to work really well. And it becomes that team sport. But what I like about it is, because it's so hard to win, that you have to keep pushing forward, you have to keep driving. And that, what I really think is important in today's world, and it does exist. So I'm not saying it's not, I'm not having a whinge about it, because I think it does exist quite well, that, you know, this ability to want to keep pushing forward, because when we're talking about things like cancer and some of these other problems that we face, you want people to be pushing. You want people to go, okay, I'm not giving up. There is a solution out there. We just got to keep moving forward. And I think that's what comes from that competition, that, well, if the framework of the competition and that desire to be better, to push harder, to overcome those obstacles.
Mm. Um, Now you push something that now you brought another topic that could be one of our next sometime conversation, which is cancer. When you, I don't have the same opinion like you regarding cancer, these trials and these things, but I'm not going to talk that much
Yeah.
anymore today. But yes, would be a nice topic for
Oh,
sure.
definitely. I mean, in the principle, it's more about, so maybe it wasn't, the cancer might not have been the great example, but, you know, whatever it is that, because when we look at things like, you know, a number of diseases and that don't, was it polio doesn't exist anymore, except for one minute place in the country, in the world, because, you know, people have found a way to, and so kids don't suffer with that anymore. When we look at how, you know, like I was reading a study somewhere that, I can't remember where I was reading it. It was the start of the year, that if you're under 40, your
Mhm.
expected lifespan is around 120. They're allowing for, you know, the medical improvements, that kind of thing. That's a,
Hmm.
big jump when you go back to, somewhere in the 50s where your lifespan was somewhere around, I think it was around 60. So that's double, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
because of these advances that we're continuing to make. Um,
Mm.
and I think that's, it's a bit, yeah, yeah, I'm not sure how, the how I guess what you're getting at is probably how they go about it and testing. Is that,
Yeah.
yeah, like it and maybe that's the case too. This is what, but the principle I'm talking about, and going, well, okay, let's not agree, that's not, maybe that's not the best way of doing it. And
Mm.
I'm hearing what you're saying there, and it sounds like it's not the best way of doing it. But this whole desire to want to be better and go, well, okay, that's not good. How can we do it differently then? How can we do it in a more beneficial way and work towards it? But it's that, again, that coming back, the principle of that competition that I'm getting to. It's like this desire to want to keep coming back to Benjamin with the video game. It's like he had a shocking race. He was going to give up and walk away. It's like, no, keep trying. And he didn't have to keep trying. He just got back on there, refocused, had the best race he ever did. And that's more the principle I'm getting at is, yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
really important in today's world. If we keep
Yeah.
wanting to move forward and making other people's lives better, it's part of the reason why we're doing this, to share with people, these experiences, which, so that, because I didn't get that when I was growing up. I look at, if my parents, I love them dearly, and I think, and part of the reason I think I have a great relationship with my parents is I don't hold any grudges for any um, any lacks that they had, any lack of inability, lack of ability, lack of knowledge that they had. I believe in my heart that they did the best that they could with what they had, what they knew.
Yeah.
The thing
Hmm.
is, I've moved forward and I've got more knowledge, so I can actually do things differently with more knowledge, and that's what we're sharing, is this knowledge,
Yeah.
so that we can do things differently with a wider experience.
And share with a bigger audience as well.
Yeah, and that's the wonderful thing about today. You're in London. I'm in Australia. I mean, I look at my grandparents. My grandparents came here. My dad's parents. They came here as refugees from World War II, and they went to the repatriation camp, and that was in a place called Bonegilla, which is north. It was north of Melbourne by about an hour and a half, I think. Um, and there was no work in that area. There was work in the coal mines, which was 6 hours away. So my granddad went, so my granddad, my grandmother, and their two children, being my dad and his sister, which I think they were 2 and 1 when they came out, somewhere around that age. So they've come to Australia with nothing other than the clothes on their back, and I think they had a suitcase each as well. That was it. That's all
They
they had.
came from where? Sorry, Damien.
My background's Polish Ukraine. So my granddad, oh, sorry, my mum's dad was Ukraine. Both grandmothers were Polish. My grandfather, my dad's father, was half Polish, half Russian. So I'm Polish, Ukrainian, Russian, which is quite ironic given what's happening in the world today, connected to them. Um, but what
Mhm.
I find interesting is, like, they came here. You and I are having this conversation. You're in London, I'm in Australia. But they came here with nothing. The work was 6 hours away. They had no money, so that my grandmother couldn't work because there was no work for her, and living in they were living in tin sheds made out of roof iron, you know, and you know what my granddad needed to do. So he wanted to, obviously set up the family. So he was working. It cost money to travel. So he only went every 6 weeks to see his wife and children while he worked in the mine sites most of the time. And then the communication, is letter. And it takes, a week for the letter to get there and then a week to get a response. And so there was no, like, you and I are talking, we can see each other, we can have this conversation. I can see, as I'm talking, I can see your reaction, you're smiling, or you're thinking about it, or that kind of thing, and vice versa. They didn't have anything like that. And that's why I look at how the world has evolved, and the opportunities, like you say, to communicate. We can share so much more with a much broader audience, and that's why I look at my parents. I don't feel bad. I don't feel for they weren't certainly the best communicators when, and that was something that I grew up with, and not having great communication skills when I was younger, um, and rubbing people up the wrong way just because of um, the not having that knowledge, and then having the
Right.
experience to talk about it with people, and and that's why I think this innovation is really important to make things better for people.
And on the other hand, as well, if we think about, we can see each other, we can
Mm,
communicate from different countries, and this, it will be recorded and post somewhere that it can stay there forever. If
yeah.
it doesn't, the platform doesn't explode or disappear. That's why I like to do my interviews and everything, and then I just place on YouTube, because YouTube is one of the places that has been here for ages. So I don't know. I don't think so they're gonna disappear when I die.
Yeah,
So, and we can still share.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is really powerful, because it's beautiful the fact that they used to write letters. I used to write letters as well.
Yeah,
I'm that kind of person that I used to write letters to every single friend. The other, I don't have any letters. No, I still have some letters from my friends, but
yeah,
I used to write letters from my mom, from my friends, for boyfriends, and so on. So I grew up like that. I like to write, but came to a point, I think was 2000 and maybe 10, 12, stopped.
yeah.
This is too much communication. And nowadays, when I send one letter or a postcard, people feel so honored. And I'm like, I'm just writing a letter. Come on. It's nothing special, but it became very special, you
Maybe
know?
that's something we could do, as a gift to people, is send someone a letter.
Yeah, because nowadays it's something that people think is like, wow, she made a letter. She write by hand. And I'm like,
I love
that's not me.
that. I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna just start, randomly writing people letters just to say, "Hey," just as a that's
Just
cool.
want to know. Yeah, I think it's powerful, because nowadays we don't have that often. I don't receive letters like I used. I used to receive postcards. I still receive 3, but I used to receive 15. Example,
Yeah,
15 for 3 or 4 is a big difference. I'm not sending postcard now on Christmas time.
mm,
I would send to my friends at least maybe 30 cards away. Now I don't send anything.
that's
But
that same. No, I mean, because I used to be really big on sending Christmas cards, and I haven't done that for a few years now.
yeah,
Um,
I do have a box that has been there. Now I do for my neighbors. I
yeah,
do. The number is very small. I will do some friends, but that's it. But I want to change that, because I love that times. It's different. It was it, more touching.
you've solved my
Yeah.
Christmas tree problem, Yola. It's not about the presents that are gonna be under the tree, it's gonna be about the letters that I send people. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm doing that tomorrow. I'm gonna start writing,
That's,
saying tomorrow because it's, like, nearly midnight here. But, um, I'm gonna
you gave
yeah,
me idea, but I think I'm gonna do as well. I think I'm gonna do it this year. Yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
that's a gift to other people. I love that.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
good idea. Let's do it.
yeah, we'll do that. Beautiful.
I like that. What a good end.
Yeah. Alright,
That's really good.
we've chatted for a while. We probably should wind this up. But I love that. That is my thing now, and going forward. Christmas is about writing a real, an old school letter with pen and ink and paper to somebody. I'm gonna get some special paper tomorrow, and yeah,
To go
that's
and buy
cool. I
people.
love that.
And on the other, even my cards, when I write to my neighbors,
Mm,
even today, last year, I always write a message. I don't write best wishes, Yola. I don't like that. I need
yeah,
to bring um more love into the cards, because the cards nowadays they already have some words like I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, but I always need to put my words there with my pen and say,
yes,
may your year or your Christmas be blessed with your family, blah. But something that specifically for each neighbor, for example, I will
mm,
do. It is something good. So
yeah. I'm
let's
gonna do that. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, I'm gonna write to my neighbors as well. That's cool. It doesn't have to be long. I mean, we don't need to write. Um, oh, I'm
nothing
so
wrong.
excited now. That's really awesome.
But I will expect to see your picture with your cards in your tree. Imagine yourself with your tree and your cards bling 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 bling.
Exactly.
I do
Yeah.
have. You don't have cards like Christmas cards?
Yeah, I used to send Christmas cards all the time. Like I would buy them, and like you, I actually wrote in, the card, and wrote my own Christmas wish, even though the card had it written in there. But I haven't done that for a long time. But I've made it. I wanted to make it really special, and I would send Christmas cards to um to a lot of people. I'd buy like about 100 Christmas cards and send them out to people I knew. But I think the Christmas
You're
thing
gonna do
is
that.
the letter is, I mean, it doesn't have to be long. I'm thinking, just a bit of a page, and this is what's been happening, and
I'm
um,
excited.
just letting you know, thinking of you, and just wanted to say,
If
just.
you want my address, I can send you, and you can
I
send me
was
one.
thinking that anyway. I was going to write you one, and I was going to then go, okay, how am I going to get it to you? But I figured you'd have your address somewhere on your website, so I was actually going to. I was thinking, honestly, I was thinking about that. So you
My
will be getting
address.
a Christmas letter. I might scan it and send it to you so you get it before Christmas, because I'm not sure that it'll get across in time, but I'll do my
But don't
best.
worry, don't scan. Let the letter come
Okay,
whenever it
I will do that. You
part that part.
beautiful. I
But I
love it.
will send you then. So I invite myself to receive your letter.
No, and I said I was actually thinking of that and I'll
Yeah.
send that
Because
across.
on my website, the address is just part of, so you're not gonna get it.
All right.
Cool.
I'll send that across. Anyway, we better wind it up because I know you've got things to do. I'm going to bed, and you've got a day ahead of you. So,
Yes.
Yola, it's been absolutely lovely as always, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity, Damien, once again. And till I receive your letter, I wish you Merry Christmas. And I'm sure we're gonna talk again soon, like you said. Have a beautiful time writing your letters, sending them, and spending time with your son and your family.
No, same
Okay.
for you, Yola. Thank you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And I'm excited to catch up
You.
again soon. And yes, you will get a nice letter and beautiful paper that I can find. And,
Take care.
bye.
Bye. Bye,
Bye.
Damien. Bye.
Thank you for being part of the Share.Care community and helping people around the world prosper. You're creating a bigger pie for everyone to share. The more people contributing to the world being a better place, the better the world becomes, for others and for you.